Hoppe Hour do not represent Cox Media Group or its sponsoring. Anything you hear may and will be used against you. Thank you.
Call security!
What's up? This is Hoppe Hour. I am your host, Ryan Hoppe, and I'm really pumped about my next guest. On the phone line is legendary comedian Jackie the Joke Man Martling. He is on the show. What's up, man?
And all the interviewers, I'm very flattered by that introduction, except for the fact when I hear legendary, it translates in my mind to old. But you can't fight City Hall, so I accept it totally.
Dude, you're not old, man. You're young at heart. I mean, you're doing so many podcasts, and you're doing so much now. You're a jack of all trades, Jackie. You've never been more popular, man.
Yeah, you know, I'm really enjoying it all. I'm in a sitcom pilot called Shoot Me Nicely. If you want to see the trailer, it's shootmenicely.com. And it looks like it's just about to get picked up, which is exciting. And I got a book coming out October 24th. And I can't believe the excitement that's surrounding my book. I thought, all right, I've been trying to do this for decades. I'm finally doing it. I got it behind me. And everybody's excited. You forget there were millions and millions of people that listened to the Stern Show and then stopped, you know, or moved away, or whatever it was, or didn't join them on satellite. And, you know, we entertained those people for 15 years. And they, you know, the people that were listening in high school and college and when they were kids, you know, now they're baby boomers with money and jobs and reading, you know, the people I've shown the book to said, man, when I read this, it's like, where were you when JFK got shot? Like, you remember where you were for certain bits and certain things. So it's like a trip through time. So and I'm very flattered by the whole thing. You know, it's not, you know, it's about Howard, you know, probably more than me, but it's great. You know, so I'm thrilled.
Have you talked to him at all recently?
There's no animosity or anything. You know, he's a good guy. You know, he's weird. He's very weird towards me, but you know, we have such a history that you know, that the book will be really interesting to people. You know, he's been 6'5" his whole life. That doesn't make it easy. You know.
Well, I'm 6'9", so I sort of know what he goes through because, like, everybody looks at you all the time, and when you're like the most known person in radio and you have a very sort of look, everybody knows who he is. So I can imagine at times it has to be annoying for him to like be seen everywhere, you know?
Like Helen Keller knows who he is, you know what I mean? Jesus. You're 6'9"? Holy Christ.
Want to hear something sad? I never played basketball. I was never coordinated, Jackie.
I got an excuse for being lousy at basketball. You know, the only excuse you got going for you is you're white, and I don't even know for sure you're white.
I'm sort of white, but I'm sort of embarrassing to the whole white race, man. I wasn't good at sports. I'm weird. I'm awkward. White people are embarrassed of me, Jackie.
Oh, that's good. So you should be a comic. Are you a comic?
No, but I do appreciate comedy. I've had a lot of people on the show. I've had Jim Norton on. I've had Anthony Cumia on. I'm into that sort of talk radio. Like, my goal is I want to be like Anthony Cumia, and I'm like, I look up to, like, I hate the word shock jock, but that era of radio is what I grew up listening to, you know?
Yeah, you know, I'll tell you. Well, I'm more than willing to give you lessons. Listen, I used to come to Tampa way decades ago, and that was the wildest city. Oh my God! You know, are you in Tampa? Are you close to it? Where are you exactly?
I'm in St. Pete, so I'm basically in Tampa. That's the radio market I work in. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, I used to work at Giggles in Tampa and sell a place out in Duke. I worked there so long ago that my middle act was Sinbad, and I want to come back and work there some more. So you got to get me in somewhere, get me a show, or have the radio station promote a show, you know, and we'll give away some CDs and some books and play Stump the Joke Man, and I'll come on the air with you and we'll have a merry old time.
I'm sure Roger and JP can hook it up for you because they're doing real well in the middays here at 102.5 The Bone. Like, their ratings are through the roof. They're number one, and Tampa loves them, you know?
That's great, and I just did them a solid. I just did their golf outing up here Friday or a week ago Friday, and it was just killer. And at the end of the day, I did 45 minutes worth of jokes after the guys ate, and they went nuts. So those guys owe me. So they said, look, well, let's hook it up. I'm sure they would like to come down and do a show for their listeners, so maybe they could come down there and meet the listeners and drag me along with them, and we could have a great time.
Dude, how flattering is it that, like, every radio show that's a guy talk show wants to have you on the show? Like, the fact that you were a part of a legendary talk show when it was in its prime, some people made debates. How awesome is it that, like, you're just getting asked to come on all these gigs all the time, Jackie?
Well, I love it because I've been going around and working all these years, working at these shows and then going on the air, and, of course, every radio station wants you because they want to talk about Howard and what happened and blah, 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 and it's great, and it sells tickets. But now, it's not just tickets. Now I'll be able, people can, if they hear the stories and I wet their whistle, they all can order books now, which is really going to benefit me, and it's going to benefit my shows, but it's also going to benefit the stations I go on. So how does it feel? I'll tell you, it feels fantastic. But you know what? I earned it. I put in a lot of time. You know what I mean?
Okay, so you've been off the show almost 20 years now. In a few years, it'll be 20 years. What have been some of the great things you have done since then?
Nothing major. I've done a bunch of movies, but small-time movies. And I've headlined a lot of places, like in Las Vegas and stuff. But I haven't, I didn't get elected president. I have a beautiful girlfriend. I live on the water, and I'm not retired, but I take it easy. I just like putting out this book is a major thing for me because I'm not one of those guys that wants to pile up the money. I just enjoy myself. I don't have anything major to report. You know what I mean? Like I don't have any TV shows. I mean, I work at Gotham Live, and when I work, I get really nice response, and I still totally enjoy doing what I'm doing. But I'm not burning it up as far as I never had my own radio. Like Anthony Camilla actually offered me a show on his network, but not to be an idiot, but I didn't want to work that hard. You know what I mean? I enjoy going on people's podcasts and going on people's radio shows. But then when I'm done, I get to come home, and I can sit there for 3 days and read a book and watch TV. And I live on the water, and I swim, and I walk. And, I like not dancing to somebody else's drummer. You know what I mean?
What are some of the shows and books that you like to read in your free time when you're not doing comedy or you're not swimming?
Well, I read Week magazine, which is just the greatest magazine. It's called The Week. And I read show business biographies, a lot, and and show business books, and and I listen to podcasts. Like lately, I've been listening to Crime City, and I like Pete Holmes' podcast, and I love Alec Baldwin's podcast. I do a real lot of charity golf events. I get up and tell jokes, and I play golf with people, and so I give back a little bit. But for the most part, I'm a bum. I'm a little freaked out that once the book hits, I'm going to be in a whirlwind of promotion and travel, and I know I'm going to love it, but I also know it's going to just eat me alive for probably a couple months. You know what I mean?
Dude, I think it's going to be worth it, though, because then it's going to help grow your comedy. And once you're done with the whole craziness of the book tour, then your comedy is just going to go through the roof. Because maybe there's some people that have sort of forgotten about you that listened to the show in the 90s. And once the book tour goes through, then they'll be completely into you because you're a guy with talent and you're funny. So I think the book tour is going to actually really help you.
I think it's the main part. The most important thing to me is it's going to be fun. Like if I come down and hang out with you and Roger and JP and we do a show, it's not going to be work, man. It's a joy. I love being with people and autographing and taking pictures and all. Some people don't like that so much. I never was a big enough star that it bugged me. I still love it when people come and say, "Hey, how you doing, man? It's so nice to meet you. Can we take a selfie?" I don't mean to bug you. And I said, "What do you mean bug me?" I love that. I live for that. And I'm on Long Island, so, wherever I go, there's always lots of people that know me, and I like it,
So when people come up to you, what's some of the weirdest things that have happened? Have you had weird drunk people at shows? Have you had weird people that are homeless? What are some of the weird interactions you have had over the years?
For the most part, the people that know me, they're not 16-year-old kids. They're older people that have jobs and are reasonably responsible. Of course, there'll be a drunk that's going to stand there and start explaining to me my whole career. And it's a weird dance to kind of excuse yourself away, because if they read what you're doing as rude, somebody can stand there and spew at you for 10 minutes. And when you finally say, look, I got to go, man, in their mind, like, oh, you're too good to stay and talk to me, so that's always going to be weird. You can make 500 people happy, and if you piss off one person, they're going to tell that story the rest of their lives. But, I'll tell you, the kind of things that happen to me that I love, like a guy the other night comes up and he shows me a picture of him holding my second comedy album in 1980 at a club called Chuckles on Long Island, and he was holding my album Going Ape, and he said, I had my bachelor party at Chuckles, and when I told you it was my bachelor party, you gave me this album for free and autographed it. And then he turns and says, these are my 3 sons, and his 3 kids were all in their 30s. And I was at his bachelor party. You know what I mean? It was like that kind of stuff. I love the way that spans. People come and say, hey, I'm here, and I brought my son, and I brought my father, and it's like multi-generational, and it's really nice, I just get a kick out of that.
So how do you come up with the prep for your comedy? Do you come up with the jokes at home?
Listen, I'm not a comedian. I'm a joke teller. I tell old, great jokes. I know them all. I tell them better than anybody else in the world. I know more than anybody in the world. And I know what I'm going to do when I get up there, and then they play Stump the Joke Man, and it's very rare that somebody knows a joke I don't know. So there's no preparation, I'm ready to go. Like if somebody said, Jackie, come on and go do a show right now, I could walk out the door and go do it. I don't got to think about it. You know what I mean? It's the only thing that concerns you is if the sound system is rotten or there's no lights. So, those are the only kind of things that throw me, and they don't even throw you. You just deal with it.
What have been some of the weirdest shows that you've had to deal with if there was a bad sound set up or a weird crowd where you sort of had to fight through the show and fight adversity in a weird way?
Well, there's countless of those, but I'll tell you, the highest paying gig I ever had was New Year's Eve. I had a gig in Boston for $45,000 for one show. And that was a real lot of money. It still is. It was a real lot of money to me. And I went up, and it was mobsters. And they were in this big ballroom with these big round banquet tables, and they were so spread out. And there was like a riser set up. Not a stage. It was like a riser. And there was no kind of lights. And there was just a microphone on a stand on this riser. So it was very, the microphone. In other words, when you take a step on the riser, it rattles the mic, and it was going to be so odd. And I went up and started doing my act, and the microphone was intermittent, it was going on and off like that. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like the microphone, and it was the longest 45 minutes of my entire life. It was the worst show. It was horrible because I tell jokes, and you got to hear what I'm saying. And I got done, and I'm telling you, those mobsters were as happy. They thought it was wonderful. I think all they wanted to do was have the guy from the Howard Stern show there. But I'll tell you, that was among all my shows, that stands out in my mind as the hardest situation ever. I mean, a microphone, I would rather have a microphone that doesn't work, because then you can stand out in the middle of the crowd and yell. But if it's intermittent, there's really nothing you can do,
Was there a part of you that was nervous when you were with those mob guys where you thought they might beat you up? Even though it wouldn't happen?
No, it can only be dangerous around idiots that think maybe you insulted them or something. Mob people are great. For the most part, people are, especially you're there to make them laugh, so they like you, I mean, I've been insulting people and doing, Polish jokes, Italian jokes, Jew jokes, fat jokes. I've been doing every kind of joke since 1979, and I've never, ever been confronted, not even once, in all those decades, because anybody sees what I'm doing, they know I'm fooling around. They know I'm just being an asshole. Oh, well, I'm usually, I'm not a dirtbag anyway. I don't curse a lot. It's so funny. People say, oh, you want to come to my house for dinner, but you got to watch your language. And I always laugh. I said, nobody realizes that for my entire time on the Stern Show, we were on terrestrial radio, on FCC radio. I was never on the show when it was dirty. We couldn't curse for the entire run I was there. We danced around the rules for 18 years. And nobody seems to remember that,
What are some of your craziest memories from that show? What were some of the craziest bits that you look back on and you go, man, how did we get away with that in the 90s?
Well, it was, they're all in my book. You know what I mean? You can't really go into them. Like having Sherman Hemsley on this show, on the New Year's Eve show, playing Whoopi Goldberg was over the top, and the things we did with the retarded people and the homeless on the Channel 9 show. There's nothing that really stands out more than anything else. There was one guy that was supposed to, supposedly he was going to fart a song. And he actually went to the bathroom in front of us in the studio. And that was, I could almost gag right now. But, stuff like that, it just was an everyday occurrence. And I'm sitting there reading through my book for the very last time. And I'm laughing out loud, when the Jackie puppet came around and when Howard got divorced and when we did the Channel 9 show and what happened when I first met those guys in the 80s. It was a real interesting run. Really, really fun, Everybody that's read the book so far is like, wow, it's like being there, because I had the best seat in the house, you know what I mean?
How long did it take you to write the book, and like how much prep did you put into it, or was it sort of like your jokes where you did it on the fly?
No. I started writing this book in 1994. I wrote the first forward, and I wrote some, and then the internet happened, and I started writing stories for my webpage. And as time went on, I wrote, something would hit me, and I said, I want to sit down and write that out. And so I wrote out all these stories. So the book is all modular stories. They're in chronological order, but it's not a running commentary. It's literally bite-sized pieces, like story after story after story, that you can read one story, or you can read three, or you can read five, and you can come back to it any time. And what I wrote is like maybe 30% about me and then 70% about me on the show. But I have the same collection of stories for another book, exactly like it, with 30% me and 70% the Stern Show, but that's completely different stories. There's so much that's not in this book. There's nothing about private parts, and there's nothing about, a couple of the pay-per-views, and there's so many things, because there was just so much that happened. So damn much happened in those 18 years that you just, the marbles keep falling out of your lap. All I can think about now is what's not in the book, because I got this whole second book ready to go. So I'm hoping that, people are going to read it and say, wow, I'd really love to read more about that, So we'll see what happens. The greatest compliment I got is my ex-wife is still my dear friend. She's going out with this lawyer who's a really brilliant guy. And I gave her some chapters to read, and she gave them to him to read. And he said to me, Jackie, man, I really enjoyed those chapters. I had no idea you were that smart. Which I thought was the greatest compliment. It was like left-handed, but it was wonderful,
So where can people buy the book? Where can they find it to purchase your book?
It's in pre-sale right now. If you go to JackieTheJokeman.com, that's one word, Jackie the Joke Man, JackieTheJokeman.com, the Amazon page pops up, and you can pre-order it, and it's going to be released October 24th. And, a book, there's nothing easier to wrap than a book. And if you know somebody that's a Stern fan or a comedy fan or a joke fan, you got the perfect present for Christmas or for Hanukkah or for whatever, and or for birthday. So, I tell people, buy 12 of them. Have a stack of them in your house. When you need a gift, wow, you got a gift right there. There aren't many people that wouldn't enjoy it, because it's not a slime fest. It's a funny book with, it's a study in people and a study in everything. So I'm hoping people will buy them. So it's JackieTheJokeman.com. I also tweet a joke every day at Jackie Martling. At 4:20 p.m. International Marijuana Time, I I'm up to like 43,000 people that, read my stupid, filthy jokes every day. And it's fun, I still have my comedy mailing list. I send jokes every month. If people, email me at jokeland@AOL.com, people still freak out. They're like, I can't believe you're still on AOL. I'm like, it serves my purpose. I don't get 1,000 emails a day. People say, what are you going to do if people call? I said, listen, I get, if I get 15 emails, I answer 15 emails. I like talking to people, and I like when people have stories about where they were and what happened and how all the trouble they got in. I had one guy tell me that the wildest one, he said that my laugh is one of the first things he can remember. Because when he was a little kid, he was, in his chair or wherever he was sitting in the car, his parents are listening to Howard Stern show, and of course he's a little tiny baby. He doesn't know what's going on, but he heard my laugh, and he said through the years, the laugh sparked his memory because he remembered his stupid laugh from when he was a baby. I thought, well, aside from making me feel real old, that's funny as hell, you know what I'm saying?
You know what I like about you, Jackie, is you're humble and you care about each and every fan. And I loved how we were able to text back and forth and you would get back to me in a really fast manner. So it's been a lot of fun having you on the show, and keep up the good work. And whenever you're in Tampa, hit me up. I would love to have you on the show again.
Now, are you morning drive or afternoon? When are you on?
I'm right now just doing this online. I actually do it from my small apartment in Tampa Bay. Basically what it is I work in promotions at 102.5 The Bone, where it's Mike Calta, Drew, Roger, and JP. And my goal is to get a show on The Bone, is to get on air. But you have to remember that I'm just 23 years old, so I have a lot to prove. But my ultimate goal is to get like a drive time show. That's like what I want to do. That's my dream.
Well, you'll get it. All you got to do is just, keep your nose in there. That's all you got to do is keep your nose in there, and eventually you'll be there. It's that simple. Just keep going. And if you, whatever you need from me, just give me a call. I'm there for you.
Sounds good, Jackie. Keep up the good work, man. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, man.
Wow. That was the legendary comedian known as Jackie Martling, as he just called into Hoppe Hour. And I grew up listening to Howard. He's a little bit before my time because I began listening around 2004 when he was on 105.9 WCKG in Chicago. So I know more about the Artie Lang era because that was era that was on when I was in fourth grade. But I will say they have so many clips of Howard TV from when he was on ETV on YouTube, and I've been binge watching the hell out of it. And it's just such an honor to have Jackie on the show. Now, if you're a fan of Jackie or you're a fan of Howard and you want to hear my show, it's not hard. It's not rocket science. All you have to do is go to the app shop for the Google Play or iOS. Search up Hoppe Radio, Hoppe Radio, and you can listen to me anywhere in the world. I know there have been people in radio that have tried to be Howard and they have failed, but my goal is I want to be something similar to it. I'm always going to be Ryan Hoppe. I'm never going to be a hack that copies Howard, but he's one of my huge influences for going into radio. So I want to take that brand of radio and do it for the quote-unquote millennial generation. So check out my show. Let me know what you think. It's at Ryan Hoppe Radio on Twitter, and then it's ryanhopperadio@gmail.com if you want to email me. All right, this has been Hoppe Hour. I am your host, Ryan Hoppe, signing off.
Hoppe Hour. Hoppe Hour.